Okay, here we go. Down my favourite little stretch of quieter road, although you wouldn't know, would you? Listening to the cars. Anyway, what should we talk about? Just kind of going through my bands that I've loved at the moment. So, and I'm going down a stretch of road because it might rain. I thought I'd do a shorter walk today. Anyway, Radiohead. Another band that had a big influence on what I like and what I don't like. Started off with Pablo Honey and the single Creep, which is the thing that really kind of, I guess, made their money in the early days. That was the thing that was on heavy rotation in the US. Not a great album for me. I bought it, listened to it, I thought, ooh, it's a bit, what's it trying to do? Is it trying to be a rock album or a sort of a bit of a grunge thing? Not quite sure. Anyway, then it came out with the Bends, which was just extraordinary in how it differed from the first album. I mean, just night and day different. The number of singles off that album alone, I think, I don't know, was it 4, 5, 6? Just packed full of great tunes. I might get run over in a minute. There's it's school kicking out time at Lambrook, which is where all the Royals are. I'll show you that in a second. Then they came out with OK Computer, which was just, again, a total step change from where they'd been. Far more musicality in it, really. Less so in terms of kind of singles or things that you can sing along to, but just an amazing album. And I think, I don't know, most of the top 500 albums lists or whatever they might be have it in the top 10. Seems to have dropped out recently. It was like a number 2 at one point, I remember. Maybe it's slightly out of favour now. But still, just an amazing album. And I love listening to it even now. It's a bit like not Wish You Were Here, Dark Side of the Moon, where you need your headphones on, really. Decent pair of headphones. Then they brought out Kid A, which it still baffles me that was so big in the States. It was literally the album that broke them in the States. And I thought it was far more inaccessible than the Bends or OK Computer, but the Americans loved it. I'm a bit yes and no with it. I do like it. It's what I'd consider to be more experimental in sound. Good album. I probably need to listen to it more. I don't think I listened to it enough. And I think that's because quite soon after they brought out Hail to the Thief, which not many people have as their top Radiohead album, but weirdly enough it's one of mine. And I think it comes down to memories you have of particular albums. You know, it might have been a period in your life when something profound was happening, where you were listening to this band or this album. And I remember with Hail to the Thief, I was put this up a bit. I was travelling to Seattle for an interview for a job which I really wanted. I was flying out to Seattle. I was going to be there for about 4 or 5 days. Had to do presentations and all that kind of thing. And I listened to it non-stop for 4 days, I think. Well, I say non-stop, obviously when I'm in meetings I'm not listening to it, but and I love everything about that album. And if I listen to it now, I'm transported back to that time in Seattle, and that was what, 20 years ago, I think. By the way, I'll just show you Lambrook from behind. This is the back side of Lambrook School. So I don't know if you can see all of that, but acres and acres of land for Lambrook. Looks like they're playing cricket or something. You might be able to spot one of them, George or whoever, or I can't remember their names. Anyway, Joe's seen a lot of them. Apparently George was playing in our local park the other day, which caused all sorts of flutters, as you can imagine. Anyway, Radiohead. So, Hail to the Thief, yes. God, I love that album. Like I say, it's not... If you ask any other sort of music fan or critic or whatever about Hail to the Thief, they wouldn't put it probably in their top 3 Radiohead albums. I would put it at probably number 3. OK Computer at 1, Ben's at 2, Hail to the Thief at 3. But Hail to the Thief is the most important one for me because it has such vivid memories of being in Seattle on my own, interviewing for a role that I wanted, and I got the job, which was fantastic. And yeah, just I can almost remember the colours, the smells, it was my first visit to Seattle. I'd never been there before. Just going to have to reduce this down a bit. And absolutely loved it. I love Seattle, I love the area. Obviously big into the grunge scene, so being in Seattle, visiting some of the sort of famous places for grunge and music, that was a real thrill. Went to a couple of sort of pub type things where they had live music on, and it was always amazing music. So yeah, Radiohead. Again, Jesus, the traffic. Again, a top 10 band for me. So I've got 3 in my top 10 I've done already. And I haven't even started on the Beatles yet. God, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. That could be a long one. I might have to split that up. Actually, I will split it up because I do have vivid memories again of different Beatle eras, which is possibly why they're my number 1 band, and always will be. But yeah, and I think Radiohead as well, one of those bands where just the progression from album to album has been incredible. I think probably the last 2 or 3 albums were maybe a little bit similar in theme, but if you look at the early stuff, if you go from Pablo Honey to OK Computer, it's like they're not even the same band. It's like it's a completely different set of people. So yeah, how they kind of, sorry, it's a bit of a hill, that's why I'm breathing heavily. How they can transition like that is fascinating to me. You know, you go from sort of heavy rockish, guitar-based, crowd pleaser stuff really, with things like Creep, to, I don't know, Karma Police, which is a beautiful song, but you think would just exist for a completely different audience. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Radiohead, my short thoughts. I think when I get through my sort of band list, I'm going to go on to maybe individual albums, because I do have these vivid memories with certain albums, which I love thinking, and that's what music does for you, isn't it? You know, you think of a particular album, it could even be the album cover. Just looking at the album cover takes you back. You know, A Hard Day's Night is one of those for me. Even though it's not my favourite album of the Beatles, it just transports me back. Just the cover. That's very odd, but you know, music is one of those things I think that does have that effect on people. It certainly does on me. I love playing it. I love listening to it. Never gets old. So yeah, maybe after I've gone through 2 or 3 more bands that I love, we'll come back to individual albums. It's actually funny when you're vlogging. I was just looking around then on the street, I'm going to do one from London tomorrow. I'm in Bishopsgate tomorrow, and nobody's going to look at me. But out here in the countryside, everybody wants to know, you know, look, what are you doing? You know, are you doing something you shouldn't be? Are you doing something because you're famous? Are you filming that person and they don't want to be filmed? It's very odd, the stares you get and the sort of looks. I don't give a shit really, but I think once you start doing this, you just keep doing it and enjoying it. But yeah, other people, eh? That's a whole nother subject. Why don't we get onto that another day? Anyway, it's a bit of a long one today, isn't it? There's something else I wanted to show up here. So a beautiful place called Warfield Park. Was it Wingfield Park? Wingfield Park. When I do another walk, I'm going to go around the polo pitch there, which is amazing. And the horses are incredible as well. I'll show you the horses. I think they're out in the field here. Let's spin this around a bit. Let's go this way. Okay, so this is the entrance to it. It's got twin fleur-de-lis on the gates, which we thought might be Prince of Wales or something, but I don't think it is. Anyway, it's they've knocked down the big old mansion that was here and put up some very, very expensive exclusive housing. Well, that's amazing, isn't it? So there, you see that? In there were, I don't know, 10 horses yesterday. There's 2 today. They're all polo horses. A horsey person will have to tell me what the difference is. I don't really know what the difference is, although they look very, very fit, is all I can say. Like they could sprint very fast. So yeah, this is, that's Wingfield Park. Just going over a little bridge here with noisy noise. There's your little stream down there. Quacky duck. It's funny what you see when you're out walking as well. This goes into a 20 mile/hour zone here because of Lambrick School, the Royal School as we all know it now. And I've just seen a Range Rover overtake a van. I'm pretty sure that's not a 20 mile/hour overtake. That's like the bloody police now. Yeah, it's funnily enough, it's 20 mile/hour until you get to St Mary's School, where it's back to 30. So for some reason it's okay for the paying expensive school to have 20 and goes back up. But there you go, that's where your tax money goes. I think that's probably all I've got to say today. I don't know if it's going to rain or not, it's a bit of a weird day. It's humid, cloudy, it's not baking hot, but it's not cold. I don't know, I don't mind these sort of days. Lambrick's got his own golf facility. Let me stick this up on a thing, and I don't know what I'm filming here, but Lambrick here, over the fence. Yes, that's where they have all their golfing, cricketing, you know, lacrosse probably. But yeah, as I say, the other day George was in the park, local park, which is just up here on the left, playing with one of the kids out of St Mary's. Probably learned a few new words to take home to Daddy. I quite like it, the fact that they're not, I mean, obviously they're very different because they're at an expensive school, but they're not shielding them. I mean, we've got security guys all over the place. You can tell it's a 20 mile/hour zone here. Anyway, yeah, the security folks are pretty discreet. I might film them one day just to see what they do, but you see them, but they're quite clever at concealing. They're not wearing false hedges or anything, wandering about like a tree, but they don't park in an obvious place, shall we say. It's not like they're right outside the school. I'm sure there's some inside the school anyway. So all three of the kids go here. Now that we know one of them plays in the park, I'm sure that park's going to be jammed solid with mums trying to just sneak a picture or maybe throw their kid at Prince George in an attempt to make friends. It's probably the kind of friend that you'd quite like to have, isn't it? Financially going forward, maybe stay friends. Anyway, that's enough for today, I think. It's so noisy down this bit of road. It's a shame because it's such a lovely bit of road. But I suppose we're coming up to school, clearing out time. And somebody's walking down the path and they're going to look at me in a weird way. So I'm going to stop the cancelling, don't you? Have a good day.